Yeah.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Time to switch gears a little bit. We're going to get away from politics while still remaining in politics. We'll talk a little bit about Rob Schneider. You guys remember Rob Schneider from back in the day? I remember. Uh, sorry, little member berries joke there. Um, I was a huge fan of Saturday Night Live in the 90s. In fact, last week on our streams, I got into a very lengthy conversation with my audience about the good old times of the 90s Saturday Night Live when you look at Chris Farley, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, David Spade, Norm Macdonald, Kevin Nealon, all these great casts of SNL that were out. And I know I'm missing some, so please don't say, you forgot this guy. We could spend all day talking about, but one of those people that was in that time was Rob Schneider. I always enjoyed, especially how when he had Christopher Walken on the show. There's my terrible Walken. Um, Schneider did his whole there's Steve-O making copies. If you guys watch the 90s SNL, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then I'm just berating like a lunatic here. But Rob Schneider used to be a Democrat supporter. He used to back Barack Obama. He was very vocal about being a Democrat, and over time, he has now switched over to the Republican side, not because he necessarily agrees with every one of their um, every one of their policies, but because he's starting to see the woke machine moving forward. And that's actually transitioned into a bit of an issue for him as he was at a Canadian charity event recently and was booed off of the stage for making anti trans jokes. It was a hospital fundraiser at the Regina Foundation. They issued an apology on Wednesday after Schneider's unacceptable set as a fundraiser. Canadian medical nonprofit is apologizing after the comedian Rob Schneider performed at a fundraising event on last Saturday, regaling an uncomfortable crowd with hacky material about the poke, women, and trans people, Trantifa, until he was kicked off stage in the middle of his set for the second time in recent months. Everyone in the room was groaning, saying, "What's going on?" like whispering to themselves. Not a single laugh at times, a witness told the CBC. It was just very apparent how uncomfortable everyone felt and unacceptable the things he was talking about were. Again, he's a comedian. This is part of the problem with stand-up comedy that, again, and this was something we got into in that live stream. When you look back at Eddie Murphy Raw, Eddie Murphy Delirious, George Carlin, you look at Andrew Dice Clay, you're never going to see that kind of comedy again because the woke ruin everything. They come in, they trample on it, and they say, "Oh, it's offensive." Comedy is meant to be offensive. You're supposed to have a bit of escapism when it comes to comedy and be able to look at the context of a joke. George Carlin once nailed down what context of a joke is, how serious things can get, but why it could be funny when you make it funny. And again, he was the master when it comes to comedy, as far as I'm concerned. This is just ridiculous that this hospital would do this. It speaks volumes of the crowd that was at this event. Schneider, I hope, does not feel any remorse for what he did and merely just books with more right leaning, I guess, venues going forward that have people that understand what real comedy is. Says the Regina Leader Post reported that the comedian was rudely booed throughout his performance. The Hospital Regina's Foundation issued a sincere and unconditional mea culpa at the sold out event, which held the Consensus Arts Center and raised $350,000 for the city's hospitals. Well, they must have done okay. My question is how much of that money goes out to bonuses? How much of that money goes out to the fat cats at the top before it gets distributed to the understaffed and understocked, underutilized medical care workers that are in the system? The medical system in Canada is broken. Maybe people should be boycotting these fundraisers from now on, not Rob Schneider. While we recognize that in a free and democratic society, individuals are entitled to their views and opinions, and that comedy is intended to be edgy, the content, positions, and opinions expressed during Schneider's set do not align with the values of the foundation and team. Again, woke virtue signaling to, hey, we wash our hands of this. We don't want to side with that person. We do not condone, accept, endorse, or share Mr. Schneider's positions as expressed during his comedy set, acknowledging that in the instance, performance did not meet expectations of our audience and our team. Foundation said in a decision that it's made mid-set to end his performance earlier than intended, to which he agreed and immediately left the stage. Good for him. I would have left full out. In fact, if I were him, I would have requested a fee for canceling the show. It added that an unconditional apology has been offered to attendees straight after Schneider was booked for the event in 2023 through the foundation's booking agent. It said Schneider was similarly yanked off stage at a Republican networking event last year, making it through less than a third of a set before at least one lawmaker walked out of the room and the host cut him off. The 60-year-old comic later doubled down on his material, which reportedly included jokes about uh, Korean worker houses, we'll say. I am coming to Washington, D.C. to perform, and I will tell you all the jokes that this group of cats, we'll say, and professionals, political butt kissers are whining about. He wrote in a tweet, shilling tickets for the next show. He's not shilling tickets. He's willing to come out and do his comedy. He's willing to keep comedy alive. I don't see the problem with it. The witness who spoke to the CBC said that he couldn't understand how the foundation didn't know who it had booked. Like he's some kind of demon. He's been anti-poke through the pandemic. He said T-phobic things for years. He said, I understand that you're raising money, that you sometimes need to draw a crowd, but it doesn't take a lot to vet people, and specifically vet people from a value-based perspective. No, you want people who chime into your rhetoric. You want people who push the woke ideologies. My question is would you have raised $350,000 if you had a woke comedian there instead of Rob Schneider? Maybe somebody should be looking into that. I don't agree with what's going on in comedy. Of course, I'm somebody who I don't know if people know this. I've said it before on stream. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a comedian. That was my number one goal in life. I wanted to try it out. I did try stand-up comedy in my early 20s. It is very difficult. I will say that it was very hard to get ahead. I can't imagine what comedians like Ben Bankus or even current higher up tier comedians that are well known have to go through today. When you look at Louis C.K., when you look at Dave Chappelle, I mean, we've all seen the backlash from their comedy specials and cancel culture coming in to try and out woke things and shut it down. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below about Rob Schneider being booed out of Canada. Again, I don't agree with it. I'm sure most of you don't. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that button down below, you click your bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central for Friday Night Fringe, our weekly talk show where we talk about everything that's happened in politics, everything coming up in the week of politics ahead, and some back and forth in the community. I look forward to chatting with each and every one of you in those streams and hearing what you guys have to say, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.